Welcome. I'm really excited you're here. I've been having a blast these last few weeks, just going through different ways to optimize your social media and to really use the tools you have online to promote your business. So today, we're going to talk about optimizing specifically your LinkedIn page and profile, as well as Pinterest, and we're going to talk a little bit about TikTok. So I'm pumped to talk about that. I'm going to turn my video off so that you guys can see the full screen. And hopefully that'll be helpful as well. So let's dive right in. Remember, you can ask questions at any time, but we'll get to them at the end. So the same thing, if you guys were here last week, I want to reiterate this again. There's three kind of big mistakes a lot of business owners tend to make when it comes to working on social media and promoting their business. And whether it's mistakes or expectations, kind of the same thing. But one thing I do notice is a lot of people try to do everything at once. Even for myself, sometimes I find that I try to set some really big goals for every single platform, and that's not always super beneficial, mostly because not all of my clients or my ideal clients are going to be on every single platform. And so that can just become very overwhelming, especially if you're trying to juggle a lot of different things. And so that's why I always recommend to focus on maybe 2 or 3 platforms and really master them before you start to bring on some other ones. So, if you ever want to talk about what might be best for your business, I'm happy to do that. But that's one thing that I typically see a lot of people struggle with. Another thing is assuming that followers and likes automatically translate to sales. This can be really, really disheartening and disappointing, especially if you get a lot of leads or a lot of likes from the content you produce, which is awesome, but they still require, those leads still require you to follow up with them and to, go through your sales process and talk to them. So that can be really helpful. Just keep that in mind as you're creating content and as you're thinking through your digital strategy, because it can become really overwhelming if you're, 3 months into something and you're wondering where your sales are and you aren't remembering that it's really a long game strategy. And then the third thing is just keeping your social media disconnected from business and marketing goals is one of the quickest ways to kind of waste time and energy on these tools and not get the most out of them. So when you connect them to those larger goals, it makes it that much easier to figure out the right content to provide, being able to measure the right metrics, all of those kinds of things. So those are 3 things I typically see business owners struggle with. I am not immune to them by any means. And so some of the things that I do to help kind of keep my mind focused and that I really recommend for you to do is to write down your business goals, marketing goals, and social media goals. And we'll go over that more next week, even a little bit more in depth. But I find that that's really helpful, and oftentimes I do it pretty regularly. So if not every quarter, definitely every month, and going through those and just making sure that I'm still on track, that there's still the right goals for my business, the right metrics for my business. Sometimes you figure out, okay, I wanted to do this and that didn't turn out the way I thought. So let's not wait the whole year, but kind of pivot and see what we can do, which I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing right now as you're trying to sort through everything with this pandemic. The other thing that I really recommend doing is audit your current profiles. I did this for all of my profiles as I was even preparing for these webinars, just kind of going back through and saying, oh, okay, what have I missed? Are there things that I could do better? Just with the experience and even the place I am in my business right now, what are things that I could do to increase my performance on these profiles, and which ones are worth me really focusing in on? Where do I get the most engagement? The third thing is just asking your previous clients or your ideal clients what platforms they use to search for your services on. Typically, you might think that Instagram is where all your people are and that's where all your business is going to come from, but maybe LinkedIn or Pinterest or Facebook is where you might find some of your best links or best connections to link up with some clients. So even kind of auditing some of your network there can be really helpful. I would say get in the habit of spending some time on each platform, engaging with others. And this doesn't necessarily mean or you shouldn't necessarily promote anything about you, but going and liking other people's content, commenting, sharing information or feedback. That kind of engagement is really helpful. And then I would say definitely pick just 2 platforms at minimum to focus your attention on for the next 90 days. 90 days is a great time because it's not forever, it's not the whole year, but it's enough time for you to see, okay, I tried this and then I adjusted and then I tried it again, and here's the results and here's what happened. So that can be really helpful. So before you do anything with any of your social media, I really recommend doing these 5 steps and just kind of going through and really thinking critically about that. And if you need help with that, please feel free to reach out. That's the kind of stuff I love to do. It's what I do every day, and I would love to help you with that. So now that we've kind of gone over that, let's jump into our platforms. So first up, we have LinkedIn, and a couple just statistics about the platform as a whole. There's 675 million monthly users, so a lot. And it's a pretty even distribution between men and women on the platform, which is pretty nice. A lot of times we see, like Pinterest, we'll see that it's a lot more female dominant. And so knowing these statistics can be helpful, figuring out, where your clients or ideal clients going to be. Most people go on LinkedIn mobily, which I found very interesting. And it's 15 times more, your content gets 15 times more impressions than job postings. And so that's just kind of helpful to think through, okay, what do I want to post on here? How do I want to utilize this? And then 89% of business-to-business marketers use LinkedIn for lead generation, which I also thought was an interesting statistic. So if you're trying to connect with other businesses, LinkedIn can be a really great platform for that. And it's been around for a while and has just continued to grow over time, which to me just always signals a much longer lifespan. If they're able to keep this around for years and years and years without these major dips, but continual growth, that tells me that they have a good business plan, that they're likely in it for the long haul, and unless something tragic happens, they won't disappear. Platforms who tend to get kind of these major spikes in like engagement and popularity don't always last that long. So that's always an interesting thing for me to think through as well. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your profile and your page. There's a lot of things that you can do with LinkedIn, so we won't go too heavy into them, partly because I don't want to, get too detailed in the nitty gritty because everyone's business is going to be a little bit different. But these things are things that everyone can do. So we're just going to kind of walk through these different items, but know that there's definitely more that you can do to continue to update your profile and page. And if you have more questions about that, you're always welcome to shoot an email to me. So let's jump in. First, as always, if you've been to the last webinar or given it a listen and a look, you'll see that the thing that typically will come up with any of your platforms is your profile or header photos. Not all platforms have both of them, but the ones you do, making sure that you have high quality photos, something interesting and engaging, something that tells a little bit about you, is really important. So making sure that the photos that you choose reflect something about you. So for your profile, I love coffee. I could drink it all day. And sometimes I end up doing just that. And so I thought, it'd be more fun to take that photo of plants and instead kind of create this fun photo of keep calm and drink coffee, which in so many ways is kind of my motto nowadays. It's okay, we'll figure this out. Just drink some more coffee and get going. So that's just kind of a fun way for me to showcase my personality without getting a little too crazy. And then obviously the headshot that I use, this is just one of my favorite photos of me. I think it's both flattering and casual, but still professional enough that I feel confident in using it for my platforms and with my brand. And so picking something that's going to match your business, that's going to match even what your clients are going to expect. Most of my clients are small business owners. I'm not working with a lot of major corporations, and that's not even really my brand. My brand is a little bit more casual and personable. And so having an image like this can really display that. So making sure though that your photo is of high quality. It can be an iPhone photo, but it needs to be a good one. So make sure that if you have anyone who can take a headshot, professional or otherwise, that they can do that. So pick something that matches your brand. Keep them from looking, maybe too iPhone-esque and keep it professional there. And then also something to note is with the header image, make sure that if you do have any writing on it, that it doesn't get covered up by your profile image. And part of that is just first impressions, and it shows that you pay attention to detail. You may not naturally think that way, and sometimes it's like, is it really that big of a deal? It may not make or break it, but better safe than sorry. So that's the first one. Update that profile and header photo for your profile there. And then update your headline. So you'll be able to see on the left-hand side, it used to just say Principal CEO of Small Digital Strategies. Totally great headline, totally, acceptable. But I updated it to say I help small businesses use their social media, website, and email list to connect with ideal clients online. That tells someone a lot more about me than just where I work. They're like, what is digital strategy? Like, what the heck? So when someone comes to the page, this is going to be the first thing they see, or one of the first things they see. And so they can look at that and say, oh, okay, I need someone who can help me with that. Great. So using your headline there can be really, really helpful to connect. You can even get a little jazzed up with it. If you go on LinkedIn, you might find some people who use, like a straight line bar or different kind of short, almost like an Instagram bio-esque format. I honestly just wanted to go with a good, quick sentence, and I haven't decided if I want to change it. So you never know. They're really easy to update, so you can kind of go and show off your personality there as well. So that's a really small way that you can update that piece of your profile. The next thing is your skills and services. So again, this is still my personal profile, but it's gonna showcase what I do. So on the left-hand side, it shows you where you can click just that little pencil icon. If you click into there, you'll be able to change everything, which is why I haven't kind of divvied them up quite as in detailed, because it's all pretty much in the same place. But on the left-hand side, you see that there isn't anything there. And then on the right-hand side, it showcases that I offer digital marketing, social media marketing, web design, email marketing, search engine optimization, all of these things. So they'll see, and obviously this is before I updated my headline, they'll see, my updated headline, and then they'll see the services I offer. And this is just another opportunity for them to say, oh, okay, she knows things that I want to know more about, or that I'm looking for help with. So they're more likely to connect with me. So including things like that can be really helpful. The next thing is an opportunity to share your story. So this is just a short little blurb about you. So I'll go back one. You can kind of see the beginnings of it on the left-hand side, that about section. So it's a great place to do a little bit more than just share your resume. This is where you can, again, kind of showcase your personality, stand out from the crowd a little bit, do what you can to update that and make sure that people understand what it is that you're about. So I redrafted this and updated it, and I'll probably honestly do another draft, maybe get some friends, family, or colleagues to look over it and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or how can I make this even better? Mainly because I am terrible at talking about myself, I feel like. So finding ways to share your knowledge, your wisdom, and what you're about, and why you do what you do. This is a perfect place for that. So definitely updating this about section is important. All right, so we're moving on to the LinkedIn page. Again, we're talking about photos. And so for this, just like anything else, making sure that you're using the right dimensions, but this is a great place to showcase the offerings or anything that you're doing that you really want people to know about. And the dimensions are a little bit different from other platforms, and it's really important to make sure you have the right ones and that the content you've created matches it well. You can see in that first image, the Shopify website. It's not a terrible image, but I honestly don't really like it. It's not the best it could be. So I was more than happy to switch it to this digital marketing mini sessions photo. And so being able to showcase that, again, people are going to see, oh, okay, she's doing these mini sessions, and they're on Thursdays at 4:30. And then I even have something about them in that blurb. So again, another great opportunity to market and to promote something that you're offering. The next thing is content accuracy, and this just goes, this should just go across all platforms, but especially on LinkedIn, it's really important that you have the right information. As you can see, when I went in, my website was my old site from like 2 websites ago when I first started my business, when I made it with Google Sites. And so I updated it to the correct domain, the correct link and everything there. I went through and double checked that. And then I also added some specialties, which we'll talk about in a minute. But making sure that you're filling out all of those pieces and that it's completely accurate and exactly what you want, on brand and on par with what you're looking to promote and to do is really important. So specialties, just like I just mentioned, these are kind of a fun and new thing that not a lot of people always know about if they're not really diving into using their Facebook page. So these are community hashtags, and you can get up to 3 of them, and you can add them. Go back one, in the same area. So you'll see at the bottom on the right hand side, I added them there. These are the same hashtags that could match the services you offer, or they could be something different. And what's great about these is when you go into those hashtags, it'll have all the content from people who are posting about that topic, who are using those hashtags, just like any other platform, how it kind of organizes all the information under that one label. But then you can go in and engage with that content as your page. So you can engage and share content on LinkedIn, but normally it's going to default to your profile. And depending upon kind of how you go around things, sometimes you can get it to stay on your page, that you can interact. But this is great because you can go in and you can comment as your LinkedIn page. And the more that you do that, the more visibility that you'll get, the better engagement you'll get. And even as you are sharing content, going and looking at what's under these under these hashtags, these community hashtags, like social media marketing or email marketing, I can see what other people are posting. Not only does that give me an idea of what I could create, but it also helps me to know kind of what people are talking about. So those can be really, really helpful, and not everyone knows about them. And then this next piece is really just use high quality photos. That seems really basic, but a lot of times people will go on and just kind of upload whatever, and that can just damage your branding more than anything else. And so if you can make the most out of this digital space and put your best front foot forward, basically. This is going to be people's first impressions of you often. If they haven't already been to your website, like this is where they're going to get to know you and your company. And so making sure that you're putting your best face out there, or at least your best content, is really important. And again, I think it goes back to the details. People don't always know what they're missing or what these details are, but they know it when they see it. So we know, a bad profile from a good one, or bad design from good design. And so making sure that you're having those kinds of intentional uploads is really helpful and important. All right, so next we're going to talk about Pinterest a little bit. It is the 4th most popular social media platform in the US, which is pretty cool. And it's 2/3 women. So that I think is really interesting, and definitely helpful to know, if your business is targeting men, Pinterest may not be the best place for you to market. But if you're looking to work with women a lot more, it could be a really great opportunity. 77% of weekly users regularly discover new brands and products on Pinterest. So if you're trying to kind of break into the market, it can be a great opportunity for that. And then 95% of members say that Pinterest inspires them, and 91% say that it helps them to achieve their goals. So if you're trying to inspire people, if that's part of how you share or sell your products or your services, it could be a really great opportunity there. And it's really great for companies and people who want to drive traffic through that inspiration and visual marketing. So we're going to kind of go through that pretty quickly about how to optimize your Pinterest and make the most out of it. So first, creating captivating content. Canva is great here because it has already all the dimensions set up. So that's great, but having those vertical images is really helpful. So making sure that when you're creating content, especially if you're going to be using Pinterest a lot, making sure that when you're creating or taking photos that you're keeping that ratio in mind. And then having descriptive copy, just like anything else, copy is really important. And so making sure that you are making the most out of that space and using strong keywords there as well, including a headline to your image. Again, you want to make sure that people understand what you're talking about, and you want to make sure that it matches your brand. So going through all of that, that's also why these visual things like Instagram and Pinterest, these visual platforms can be more time consuming because you have to think through all of these things. But those are some really simple ways that you can just kind of slow down, think intentionally about how you want to promote and use the content you're creating, and update them there. The next one is to pin consistently. So these are just a few boards for my Pinterest for WDS, and Pinterest recommends pinning just something once per day. And so the nice thing about Pinterest is a lot of the content, the lifespan is much longer than most platforms. But going in and pinning content is really helpful because it eventually will share more and more. And that's how I've gotten more people to look at my profile and to engage. So that can be a really simple way. If you're trying to find ways to increase your engagement, increase your followers, going and being active, just like any of the other platforms, is always going to be beneficial. And then plan ahead. So like I said, creating that visual content really can take some time. I personally like to batch most of my work, especially creative work, because if I get into a groove, it's really hard for me to get back into it if I break it. So using tools like Hootsuite or Tailwind, Buffer, I mean, there's a million different scheduling tools out there now. You can go in, plan ahead, create your content, and even see what it's going to look like ahead of time. And so that can be really, really helpful as well. And then optimizing for Pinterest SEO. So I won't go too deep in there, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. And so making sure that your content is using these keywords is, what's the word I'm looking for? Using the keywords is really helpful. And so this is how people are searching on Pinterest, right? And so it's basically a visual search engine. So think of it almost like Google Images kind of deal. That's how I kind of think through it when I'm creating content is, okay, what are the things that people are going to type in? So if I'm creating content for marketing tips, people might, type in like social media marketing inspiration, or a social media calendar. Like people might be looking for those things. So using those words in my headlines and captions and all of that is really helpful and important as well. So thinking through those kinds of things takes some time and a little bit of trial and error, but that's a great way to optimize your Pinterest as well. All right, so next, we're going to jump into TikTok. So this is a really new platform. I don't know how many of you all have heard of it or are familiar with it. And so definitely going in and experimenting with it is one of my kind of joys of being able to do this for work. So some things about it. It's the 6th largest social media network now, and it has over 1.6 billion downloads to date. So a lot. It has 46 million installs this past year, and the United States accounted for 6% of that. And I mean, I'm just kind of flying through these. You guys can look at them when I send this back out. But 60% of the users are female versus 40% male. So that's an interesting demographic, and then also the age range. So we see that a lot of people, the age range typically right now is 13 to 26-year-olds. And so if you're really wanting to target a younger demographic, whether that's because you think they're going to currently be purchasing your products or services, or you think they might be doing that in the future, TikTok's a great place to start and to really look into utilizing this. So a couple things that are kind of updates about it. Ads, this is exciting for a lot of businesses. And I think we'll see kind of what we've seen with most platforms is ads are just going to become a much more prevalent thing. So one thing is brand takeover ad, and they guarantee 5 million daily impressions, which is bold. But the way that they do this is it's the first thing that pops up when you open that app, every time you open that app. So I tried it out and I opened the app, closed it. Open the app is always the same ad. So anytime someone opens that application, which for most people, especially between the 13 to 26 age range, is going to be multiple times a day, multiple times an hour even. So that's an interesting way for brands to start to market their businesses as well. There's also in-feed video ads, exactly what it sounds like. They're ads that'll pop up as people are scrolling, and I've seen quite a few of them. And the way that a lot of people and businesses are utilizing that is they're not making it look like an ad from the get-go. So I honestly don't even realize it's an ad until we're a little bit into it, which I think is really smart. And then there's influencer ads. And this is something that they're really starting to roll out more and more. And so it's people who have gained enough popularity on this application that they're now going to get paid to talk about different products, and then they can swipe up, or you can purchase directly from the app. So basically TikTok's taking everything that every other app has done well and putting it all into one. So that's also where I think it'll be really interesting to see how this application goes forward and what it kind of does. I'm not sure yet if it's in it for the long haul, but it's definitely going to be a really popular tool for the next few years, if not the next decade or so. So that'll be something to look at, which is why it might be interesting to kind of look at it now, so that you can kind of get ahead of the curve. So should you get an account? Great question. I had someone recently ask me about this, and I honestly got an account for my business mainly because I wanted to explore it, and I wanted to see, kind of just test it out, see what it's like for businesses as opposed to just my personal stuff. So things I think that would do well on it are anyone who produces a product or does anything creative. So if you're an artist, if you're a jeweler, if you bake, if you have a restaurant, all of these things where you're actively doing and producing something, those naturally, if you produce a really great video, it's going to get a lot of popularity. People who are into fitness, there's a lot of medical professionals, real estate, even mechanics and cleaning and housekeeping kind of stuff. There's a lot of opportunity, I think, for people in those industries to utilize this platform naturally. I think, honestly, for people in my line of business, it's going to be a much more difficult and interesting. I'll have to get a little bit more creative with how I use it. So that can be really, really interesting and helpful. So I want to leave some time. I know I didn't leave a lot for questions. So now's the time to answer and ask them. Let's see. Okay, Melissa asked, should the about section be in the first or third person? So Melissa, that's a great question. I've seen people do it both ways. I personally do first person because it's my profile. So I kind of think of it the same way that people are going to be coming to my personal Instagram or Facebook page. They're kind of visiting me. That's kind of how I see it. So when they go to my business profile or page, they're going to be visiting my business, my brand. Whereas when they go to my personal profile, they're going to be visiting and talking to me directly. So that's how I do it. But whatever works better for you, or what you think is better for you and your business. There's no wrong way. Okay, let's see. Another, awesome. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like this. So encouraging. All right, any other questions? Let me see if we have some up here. Oh, all right. Oh, great. Well, hopefully the lack of questions means I answered questions really well without you guys even having to ask any. So that is it for today. If you have any more questions, please feel free to shoot me an email. Just what to expect next, same deal. We're going to send a follow-up email and with a feedback form. I'd love to hear your feedback on these sessions, just even so I can plan ahead for the rest of these as well in the future. So if there's more things that you want to learn about or have me talk about, you can share that there. And then we'll be talking next week about resetting goals for post-COVID life. So hopefully in the very near future, we will see all of our states, everyone opening back up. But I think now is the perfect time to really start to plan ahead. So we're going to walk through together kind of how to create those goals and set them up. Even though it'll be a much more one-sided conversation on my end, my goal is to help you kind of have an outline of what you want to do so you can sit down and make those goals yourself. So thank you so much, you guys, for coming. I really love having you all here. It is the highlight of my week. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. And anyone who's attended, you guys have a free session, a free 30-minute session with me. So feel free to book that on Zoom or over the phone. We could talk about anything you'd like. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Bye.